Equinoxe.
Good afternoon to you, dear televiewers, and for those who are listening on radio, good afternoon to you. Thank you for choosing Equinoxe Radio Multimedia. Have you ever heard about leprosy? Do you know the disease can kill? If you have no idea of what the disease is all about, then this is the right program for you. And for those who have no idea of what it's all about, then equally know this is the right program because you'll be able to learn one or two things about what leprosy really is. And it should be noted that stigmatization continues to have a negative impact on the successful elimination of leprosy in Cameroon and equally across the world. The reintegration of people cured of leprosy in our society without any prejudice has been a major thing that health experts have been combating for a long while now. But today's edition of the program will tell you about why it is very important for you not to stigmatize this patient and why it is important to equally know more about the disease in order and how to know how to tackle such issues if it happens to you or someone close to you or maybe a family member. But that will be after the short break where we'll be receiving our guest. Welcome back. Today we'll be receiving a guest. He'll be telling us more about what leprosy really is, a disease that has been existing for a very long while now, and efforts are currently being made to effectively eliminate the disease. In some countries like India, where this disease is very predominant, they have been fighting so hard. But one of the major problems these people suffer from is the fact that they are being discriminated upon, especially even after being cured of the disease. But today we'll tell you how to tackle the disease, but that will be after the short break. We are currently trying to get to our main health expert who will be enlightening us about what exactly leprosy is and how we can better tackle this disease. For a long while now, health experts have been trying to come up with vaccines on how to address the situation of leprosy that has been affecting lots of people. You see people's hands having some disformation, you see their bodies with some marks. But one thing is sure, the main thing you have to do is go for diagnosis. And that's why our health expert will be telling us why diagnosis is important. And equally, he'll be enlightening us on what can really cause leprosy, how it can be prevented, how we can get treated of the disease, and some major centers in Cameroon that treat this disease, because not every hospital can effectively tackle leprosy. And that's why we'll be getting to a health expert. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Laigha AJ. Yeah, good afternoon. After so many trials to get to you, finally we have you on the program.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Exactly. So today we are looking at leprosy, what really it is. We know it is something that can kill if not well addressed. So tell us, what exactly is leprosy?
Leprosy is a disease that is caused by bacteria, and if we've been following, if there's no who's read about ancient scripts like the Bible, you will notice that it was one of the most feared diseases because of the severe symptoms that it had. In the long run, it often made people to lose their digits, their fingers. But nowadays, it's much more softer because it's discovered there are no safe treatments for it, and people who have it can be treated and recover.
So now tell us, what are the signs and symptoms to watch out for when it comes to leprosy?
Okay, the first thing that you will notice in leprosy will be lesions. Those are skin patches that usually they will be red or they will just lose color, which means that they may become really bad. And we may have parts of the skin that don't get feel like you can burn them, they don't feel pain, you pinch it, they don't feel cold, they don't feel heat. This actually destroys nerve endings. It destroys in the skin and the extremity, fingers and the feet, and causes them to no longer have any sensation. Also notice a tingling sensation in your fingers. this is the same reason, then you will also notice that you have wounds or burns that are not painful because the nerve endings have been destroyed. And of course, your muscles are going to be weak, your skin is not going to be looked thick or stiff. And you may lose your eyelashes and eyebrows in the long run. Sometimes you may even lose your sight. Those are long-term consequences.
Okay, so now, how do I tell this is leprosy? Because you can still have some rashes on the body that may present itself as leprosy. Is there a reason for me to go get diagnosed for it?
Okay, the first thing.
That was our doctor, nurse, and our health advocate, NGONG Laigha, where he's explaining to us how to know more about leprosy. We're having some technical issues as far as connection is concerned, but we are going to be getting to him very soon. And he rightly explained how to easily know that you have leprosy. He talked about the symptoms, which are some patches which you can notice on your body, some dark spots, some rashes, though it is important to get diagnosed so you can effectively tell you are suffering with leprosy. He mentioned some rashes that could be found on the body, especially on the hands, where you can notice. But the problem with leprosy is that when you say it, you can touch it, but now you will not feel that sensation because the nerve of that part of the body is off. So that's why it's important to get to a hospital or get to a health facility where the treatment for this disease is very effective, and that's why we have specialized centers for this in Cameroon, and one of them is even in Fumban in the west region of Cameroon, there to tackle cases of leprosy. We're trying to get in contact with our guest. We are back with our guest. Hello, Nurse Laigha, are you back?
Yes, I am back.
We're having some very difficult situation with our network today.
Okay.
So now, what is the first step? We're talking about diagnosis. When should we get diagnosed?
The moment you notice that there are patches on your skin, there are parts of your skin that are not sensitive, like you pinch them, you don't feel it, or maybe you have a wound and you don't notice that you have a wound, it's important to get checked up because this shows nerve damage. And even if it is not from leprosy, it will also be from a really important illness that requires that you get checked up immediately.
So now, tell us, are there centers that handle cases of leprosy in Cameroon, and where are they found?
Okay, some years ago, leprosy was considered a really severe illness because the mechanism of action was not well understood. Like, for example, if you've heard of Bingo Baptist Hospital, it actually started as a leprosy center. Okay. But in recent years, the mechanism of action of leprosy has been well understood, so much so that they don't actually need specific centers for the treatment of leprosy. Leprosy is a bacterial infection, which means that it can be actually treated in almost all centers because it's not very contagious, right? It doesn't need a lot of specialized care. It just needs the right medications and the right follow-up for the right duration of treatment.
So do you mean someone who is suffering with leprosy can stay at home with the other family members without fear of contamination?
Yes. Someone who has leprosy, leprosy is spread, although the mechanism is not 100% understood, they believe that it is spread through droplet infections, which means that you can hug the person, you can stay in the same house with the person, you could eat in the same house, you could sleep on the same bed, you could even have sex with the person, and this will not cause a spread in leprosy. However, it's recommended that someone who has leprosy should wear a face mask, just a simple face mask to prevent droplets from flying around and spreading the infection. So it's a droplet spread infection. It's not contact spread. It's not just like touching somebody that causes the disease to spread.
About 200,000 people across the world are diagnosed with leprosy every year. So now, with the case of Cameroon, how common is leprosy?
Okay. Actually, there are 200,000 people in the world that are living with leprosy, not necessarily diagnosed every year. It is a cumulative figure. Mm-hmm. And in Cameroon, our most recent statistics are from 2021. In 2021, Cameroon had just 121 cases of leprosy. And this is actually now it shows that it's no longer, a really prominent disease. It's been controlled so much that it's not really widespread again.
Talking about treatment, how is it treated and how much does it cost right here in Cameroon?
As I said earlier, leprosy is a bacterial infection, mm-hmm. and it is treated with what we call multi-drug therapy. which means that instead of using just a single medication to treat the disease, you have a combination of 4, 5, or 3, 4, or 5 medications that are used together. This, they are trying to avoid something they call drug resistance, whereby a bacteria learns to avoid a specific medication. So in the case of leprosy, you're going to receive about 3 or 5 different antibiotics to be taken at the same time, and maybe some other medications to prevent the nerve sensitivity. However, this treatment does not reverse the damage that's already done by the leprosy. It only prevents further damage from occurring. And it's a long-term treatment. It lasts maybe between 1 year to 2 years. And so it's expensive, but the expenses don't come because the drugs are very expensive. It comes because you take the drugs for a very long time. So although it's expensive, the cost is also spread out through a long time and affordable.
Is there a way of preventing leprosy?
The only way to prevent leprosy is actually by identifying people who already have leprosy and treating them. There are some animals and insects, especially like cockroaches. Cockroaches have been found to spread. So if we can regularly spray our houses against the cockroaches, we may actually lower the incidence of leprosy. Then there are also these animals, armadillos. They are not very common here. They are more common in the US and Canada. That could also spread leprosy. Then for vaccination, we have the BCG vaccine. The BCG vaccine was actually designed to treat tuberculosis, to prevent tuberculosis, but it has been proven to be very effective against leprosy. So people who receive the BCG vaccine at birth actually have a reduced risk of developing.
From their family members, from the entire population. So now, what can be done to help such people?
Well, as they often say, they say all habits die young. If you remember, we mentioned old texts before. If you read the Roman text, the Bible text, you'll notice that what usually happened was that somebody who had leprosy was isolated and taken out of human contact. And this kind of creates a situation where people believe that people who have leprosy are at risk to their well-being. And this mentality lives even to this day. So it's a little bit difficult to correct it, but I think the first step towards doing that will be education, letting people understand what it actually is, how it spreads, and letting people understand that just somebody having leprosy being around you does not necessarily make you to have leprosy. Now, an interesting thing is that only about 5% of population can actually have leprosy. A lot of people get exposed to the bacteria that causes leprosy, but they are immune to it. About 95% of the population are immune to this bacteria, which means that even if they get exposed, they will not get infected. Their immune systems will be able to fight them. Even among the 5% that get infected, only about 1% of them actually end up developing symptoms. Other than their body will suppress the infection and will never be able to show symptoms. So if we can educate people about these things, it's going to reduce the stigma around leprosy and create an environment of acceptance and tolerance.
Thank you so much, Nurse NGONG Laigha. He is equally a health advocate, and we are so sorry for all the technical challenges that we face in the course of the program. Thank you so much for your keen attention. Representation, I am Immaculate Fogwe, and I received technical assistance from Raphael Dipanda. Have a lovely day in the company of more programs on Equinoxe Radio and, of course, television. So long.